All right, here we are.
All right, Chris, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
You ready to fire up episode 2?
I'm ready to fire up episode 2. I just had a late lunch of a poke bowl, so feel like I have some nutrition in me, ready to rock.
Love that. Well, let's go ahead and get started. The masses are pouring in.
Excellent. And this time we do have the chat open, if I'm not mistaken, right, Chris?
We do, unless I've screwed that up again. So,
well, I'm sure you nailed it. Let's get going. So thanks everybody for joining us today. This is the second webinar in our series that we're undertaking at the moment, where we're talking about loyalty, the intersection of loyalty and NFTs. Today, we're talking about interoperability. This is a topic that was brought up as a request to sort of double click into. And so that's what we're trying to do with this webinar. If you're new and joining us this week, highly recommend, and we'll make sure to include the link to our last webinar, which is really the highest level overview of the intersection of loyalty and NFTs. If you're new, my name is Connor. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Flaunt, an NFT loyalty company. And then this is my co-founder, Chris. And we are super excited to talk about today's topic. So interoperability, super complicated word. It's a little bit of a technical topic, but it's so important for why you might want to consider integrating this new Web3 blockchain NFT infrastructure as part of your loyalty strategy. So we're gonna just highlight what interoperability is and what it means, how it's related to this new infrastructure we're talking about, what does it have to do with loyalty, and also similar to some of the principles that we follow, we wanna highlight this new technology and these new capabilities, but they don't come without challenges. So we wanna make sure to highlight those and also provide some ways that you can overcome them. So without further ado, we're gonna kick it off. We're going to start with the definition that you all are definitely going to remember. So interoperability is a characteristic of a product or system in which it works well with other products or systems. Really focus on a product or system that works well with others. So that's the definition. But we're going to start with the pop quiz because Chris, I'm going to guess that you could not recite that definition back to me.
I forgot it already.
That's what I figured. So which of the following objects or items are interoperable? A t-shirt, B, a basketball, both a physical t-shirt and a basketball. And then C, a virtual t-shirt, D, your Facebook profile, and E, a loyalty membership. Let's see anybody in the chat here. Yep. Nailed it. All right. A and B, the two physical items, a t-shirt and a basketball. We're gonna quickly highlight why. What makes these items and really the physical world interoperable? I'm gonna give a quick example. So this is a physical t-shirt. I'm going to highlight a day that would be my ideal work day. I have two kids, a 2.5-year-old and a 3-month-old baby boy. And so this is not how my typical day goes, but we're gonna speak aspirationally. So start off at home. I put on a t-shirt, and this is an object, this is an item, this is an asset that does a job. It keeps me warm, it keeps me decent, and also it has a certain aesthetic. It's black, and everybody else, unless you have a rare part of the population that can't tell that it's black, knows it's black. And it might have some branding on it that sort of shows off the type of brand, the type of person I am. So it does these jobs when I'm at home and I'm making breakfast for my kids. It does this job at work when I'm interacting with other people in a new environment. And then when I'm going out to this aspirational post-work dinner because I have a babysitter, does the same thing in the restaurant. And then when I'm getting a drink at a lounge, it does the same thing. And these different environments may have slightly different attributes, different lighting, different temperatures, but still the item is doing the job. And the reason, because all of these environments follow the same set of constraints. They follow the same set of rules that that the physical world, no matter where you are, no matter what environment you're in, we all have to follow. And so the idea that they're all follow the same rules, gravity, etc., allow these items to do their job across different contexts. So Chris, just want to highlight, is this starting to make a little bit more sense relative to the text-heavy definition? I know you're a picture guy.
Yeah, I think so. The more pictures, the better for me.
Excellent. Well, I have some more coming. So now that's why the t-shirt and the basketball are interoperable, because they can do their job and be recognized in lots of different environments. The digital world is a little bit different. Engineers and software developers and designers can create these awesome experiences without the constraints of a shared set of rules. That is awesome because it means we can experience rich new things with the internet and with computers. But interoperability and getting these experiences to talk to one another is really, really hard. As mentioned, each of these different experiences are powered by their own set of data models and infrastructure. And so getting them to talk to one another is difficult. I'm going to use the example of a virtual t-shirt. Now, this is a picture of a virtual black t-shirt from my alma mater, Roblox. And so in the digital world, if you think about a comparison of the different environments that a digital item that I may own may need to be recognized in, spend a lot of time on social media, e-commerce, and sort of the digital checkout counter for a particular brand, and then the actual physical checkout counter and point of sale system where they're scanning your credit card and sitting behind a computer, and then maybe games like a Roblox or like a Fortnite. These different experiences are all powered by their own siloed databases. And so it's really, really difficult. If I earn this black shirt in Roblox, if I go to Twitter or go to Instagram, they have no real way of knowing that I own this thing. And if I go to the e-commerce checkout counter of maybe even the same brand that gave me this shirt on a platform like Roblox, they have no idea that I actually own this. So this is a really, really difficult technical problem, and hopefully highlights the difficulties of, there's a lot of database icons on this. Chris, I can't speak for the folks on this call. Chris isn't the most technical person in the world, so hopefully this isn't scaring you off, Chris.
Not yet.
Not yet. Cool. So interoperability in the digital world is hard because all of these different databases are not designed to talk to one another. And when interoperability does happen in the digital world, it is a huge deal. Getting all of these different computers to basically abide by the same set of rules of this is how we're going to do X thing is really, really hard. But when it has happened, it has been a huge deal in terms of what we as the human race can do digitally. The HTTPS protocol and the idea of sending all of these different computers agreeing that this is how we're going to transmit data and information over the internet and display them in a browser, that has totally transformed the way in which we operate as a civilization. And then Bluetooth. When Chris is in his apartment in Chicago playing country music, I can hook up to his speaker with really potentially not even asking him and turn it to a much better set of music. So these are all, these are just protocols, and the two examples I mentioned are just ways in which devices have agreed that this is how we're going to do things, and it changes the consumer experience. So what does interoperability have to do with Web3? Web3, if you punch down and what sort of the definition of Web3 is, it's really a new set of experiences that can be powered by something called a blockchain. And so what I've done here is define what a blockchain is. Blockchains are secure public databases that anyone can access, but no one individual company or person controls. There are some exceptions to this and some nuance where different companies and different use cases of different types of blockchains. But in general, when you're talking about interacting with Web3 infrastructure, it's really leaning into the decentralized network that is a blockchain. So let's look at the same example of a digital t-shirt, but now the actual record of ownership that exists is on a blockchain and not just in the Roblox database, for example, to sort of paint a comparable example. So now, because this record of ownership that Connor owns this black t-shirt is now in this neutral place, it's not owned by Roblox, it's not owned by any of these other web applications. Anybody can access this. This is the shared sort of protocol that I mentioned. Anybody can trust that they can always and forever, just like they can trust the way that they're sending data over the internet, they can trust that there is one single way that they can access this blockchain that will never ever change, and they can prove that I own this. And so now, if I earn this same virtual t-shirt, and there's a record of ownership on this in this neutral place, this entire rich set of different experiences can actually do things to honor and know that I actually own this black t-shirt. So that is how Web3, or more specifically, a blockchain, is able to unlock the interoperability within the digital sphere. So Chris, any questions on that, or any questions from our audience members here?
Yeah, guys, feel free to throw your questions in the chat and we'll make sure they get answered throughout. But I do have a question for you, Connor. So could you paint an example of how this might work in an e-commerce sense? So let's say I earn something, I earn this digital record of ownership that's registered on the blockchain, and the multimedia that is attached to that is this t-shirt. How can that be useful for me in an e-commerce setting?
Yeah, so that brings up a couple of really, really good points. One of them is in rewinding back to the physical world. If I have a basketball and I bring it from my house to the court, when I show up at the court, there's two pieces of that ownership that are really blended together and not really pulled apart in the physical world. And that's the actual like proof and like record of ownership, and the actual like item itself and being able to use the item. If I bring the basketball and I have it in my hand at the court, the record of ownership is basically like meaningless. I have the basketball, so therefore I own it. But in the digital world, this separation, these two components are really, really important. What a blockchain is really good at doing is tracking who owns what in a neutral place. And so specifically of these two components, the record of ownership and the actual like digital media or file or whatever you have, the e-commerce and the things that are possible in these different environments are really, really tied to the actual record of ownership and less so the multimedia. They can always pull in that media, especially if it's something like an image, which is really easy to be rendered in any sort of, but it gets more complex, like this digital shirt. This is actually a 3D model in Roblox. And so an e-commerce, sort of 2D website has less use for the 3D, model, the like data heavy object and file that is the shirt. But an example to answer the second part of the question is, let's say a brand that is participating in this ecosystem that I used to shop at when I was like 13, PacSun. Say PacSun distributes this virtual t-shirt to me in a Roblox experience. And if this is on a blockchain, they can, and the record that I own that digital asset is in this sort of neutral place, PacSun can easily, when I go to the e-commerce website, they can give me the option to connect and prove who I am via proving that I actually own the wallet that is recorded in this neutral database. And I can prove to them that I own this shirt, and then they can give me a juicy 30% discount. So that's just one example where an item in one context could be actually unlock a relevant experience within a different context, which actually parlays well into the next section, which is how does interoperability impact the loyalty marketing world? And so I'm going to start with an example. This is a brand, Lacoste, that has a traditional, standard loyalty program, Le Club Lacoste. This is high volume, probably in the millions of people that actually participate in this, but pretty low differentiation, pretty similar to traditional loyalty programs. They also have this underwater experience, which you see the icon on the right, which is a Web3 powered loyalty program. The catch is that it's only right now, targeting 10 or has around 11,000 members relative to the scale of the traditional loyalty program. But what we believe at Flaunt, what we've built our business around, is that the magic that's happening on the right should be accessible to the millions that are participating on the left. So I'm going to just compare some of the differences between the two to show how interoperability can be really game changing. So Le Club Lacoste is something it's only really exists between you and as the consumer and the brand, and it can show up most meaningfully on the digital e-commerce side, and then it can also have the opportunity to show up at the physical location. And that's because this record of ownership, this loyalty membership, exists in a database that is controlled within the brand's walls. So the right-hand side, the checkout counter, the physical, retail location, and the e-commerce store all fall within the Le Club Lacoste, the Lacoste ecosystem. But that loyalty membership is not recognizable in some of these other platforms where, as digital natives, we're spending like 8 hours plus a day connected to the internet. And we spend so much more time in some of these different internet connected experiences than we do the few times of the year that we may be actually shopping with the brand. So let's contrast this sort of architecture. And I apologize, Chris, for throwing more database icons at you, with the underwater experience. This underwater experience not only can provide benefits on the Lacoste website at the physical location, but also in the places that I mentioned where we, as a digital native, generation, and even beyond that into older generations, are spending a lot of our time engaging with our friends online. And so the reason for that is because the underwater loyalty membership exists on a blockchain. And all of these different, web applications, mobile applications, et cetera, can prove with a simple protocol and set of accessing this blockchain that will never, ever change. They can reliably prove that you own this membership, and therefore you can have a differentiated experiences in the places that you're actually spending your time. One example is Discord. Discord is a group communication, group chat platform where you can see here in the background, the underwater community is gathering to get announcements, to engage in games. And this is an exclusive area for people that own this membership. This is well outside the Lacoste brand walls. Lacoste doesn't own the databases that's powering the entire Discord platform, but they can prove that somebody owns the wallet that owns a underwater membership. And so they can access members' exclusive areas.
And Connor, before you flip forward, if you just go back for a second, I think it's worth noting, you can actually faintly see up in the top left of the screen, there's actually over 60,000 people who have signed up to join this community. But there are certain sections that are reserved for only the people who own the NFT. That gets you, access to certain parts of the forum, exclusive perks in real life and digitally and so forth. And so that's just further evidence, even though 60,000 is not in the millions, that there are more and more people who do want to participate in this type of engaging experience with a brand like Lacoste.
Totally. Absolutely. And then in addition to Discord, there are more and more the social platforms that have billions of users that are rolling out features, helping you connect because they can reliably access and prove that you do own this wallet that does own this loyalty membership. You can connect your memberships to your Instagram profiles, and over time, these types of platforms are going to be allowing you as a brand that is potentially on these platforms to differentiate the experience based on whether or not somebody actually owns a loyalty membership. So in just conclusion on how interoperability sort of impacts loyalty, a quick comparison, this is the Le Club Lacoste program. You see your level, it exists within the website. You can see the amount of points that you've earned, and it's very, very brand consumer focused, siloed relationship. And then the underwater experience, using a little bit of flair in terms of what the Flaunt product is offering, and using Lacoste as an illustrative example. This not only exists and matches the functionality of the Le Club Lacoste program, being relevant and having a differentiated experience on the website for e-commerce and in the retail store, but as a brand, you get to show up and add value and contribute to your loyal customers' digital identities to really deliver a new experience. So put simply, how does interoperability impact loyalty? It unlocks the ability for brands to create a multiversal brand experience. You can be more present across more services that matter more to your customers, and you can be more useful by making, really redefining what it means to be a member of a brand rather than a member of a program. But this is awesome. Hopefully you're starting to see the power, and we've taken a lot of database heavy physics type of conversations have started to make them a little bit more tangible about why we're so excited and why brands like Lacoste are pushing the envelope. But it doesn't come without some challenges. So I'm going to just quickly touch on a few of those and ways that brands can overcome them. One of them is, like Lacoste, 60,000. There are people that are trying to access this experience, but the user experience, particularly in the last year when some of these programs were launched, it's difficult. There are new sort of UX patterns that people are being forced to learn. The good news is that there's pieces of infrastructure that are being built that allow you as the brand to make this accessible, make this new magical experience that's just more rich for your customers, accessible to anybody, not just a Web3 native audience. And that really boils down to making a crypto wallet just as accessible as a traditional Web2 application account. The other one is, some platforms like the Discords and even starting to be the Instagrams of the world are supporting this new infrastructure and are pointing towards the database that is the blockchain to honor some of those important digital assets. But others, like I mentioned, the Robloxes of the world, this is not something that is fully baked yet. They're still hiring some of their first Web3 engineers. And so as a brand, you don't want to wait until this is accessible to everybody before you start to experiment. You want to be the Lacoste of the world, where you're not only innovating for a smaller audience, but taking advantage of some of the new infrastructure that I just mentioned to make this new rich experience accessible to everybody in preparation of this being permeated throughout consumer behavior. And the final one is this new infrastructure and unlocking interoperability also means getting comfortable with really a customer-owned loyalty program, which is what the Lacoste Underwater is. When you put it in this neutral infrastructure, there are ways to reduce transferability, but ultimately what you can't get around is the fact that this is public. Anybody can see who these people are, and it breaks some of the rules of traditional loyalty marketing. And so adapting and adopting new mindsets to actually, and new business models even, to make this program not only add tremendous value to your consumers, but also accrue value to you as a brand as well. So with that, would love to re-kick it to any Q&A. Hope this is helpful in distilling what is a horrible word in interoperability, but and painting and bringing to life some of the magic of what makes it so special and such a cool opportunity for brands. Chris, any closing questions from you?
No closing questions from me. I think it was very well said. I'm just peeping at the chat here to see if any questions are coming through, but if not, we do have one question. Okay. As part of the overall experience, what ways and best practices have you seen Discord communities create and keep strong loyalty?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, Discord has been the, I guess taking a step back, loyalty programs have draw a lot of inspiration from the gaming world. Gaming world to have gems and virtual currencies and ways that you can earn. And so I have thought about the loyalty industry as really like, you know, a business and brand focused gaming system. And so Discord was actually the first, its first use case was providing a place for gaming communities to come together. And so as these new, you know, NFT based communities have sort of been thrust into the world, they have naturally picked Discord as the place where they can communicate. But Discord does have some challenges. And so if you are not on if you're not trying to reach people that are already on Discord, it's a little bit of a chaotic experience that can be difficult to wrap around. But keeping people engaged within a Discord community, or really within any community, it takes a new set of skills. And I think that offering a lighter experience where people can participate in votes and people can, you know, discuss important topics that relate to the community, and making that as easy as possible to stay engaged, while also providing some of the deeper, you know, group real-time communication capabilities and places for people to gather and meet each other. I think that the communities that have over invested in just, you know, the real-time and really, really deep communication can kind of lose some of the fringe members, which is a problem that games face. It's a problem that loyalty programs face. So I think that those that have offered seamless ability to stay engaged and contribute without needing to spend all day in Discord are the ones that really have kept people engaged. I just see another question. Who or what company is leading the way with Web3 loyalty programs? This is really a great question, and it's still a pioneering space. I think on the brand side, Starbucks, we mentioned Lacoste and have used them as an example, but Starbucks announced their Web3 loyalty program. You know, they're calling it Starbucks Odyssey. And I think that on the brand side, that's one that's really pioneering and matching our vision to bring this to the masses and not millions of people, and not just, you know, a 10,000 or 60,000 group community. And that's why we started Flaunt. That's why, because we see an opportunity to bridge some of these different pieces of infrastructure to help make what Starbucks and Lacoste is doing and bring that to the masses and not just a niche audience. So thank you, Michael, for the question.
All right. Well, we are at time.
We're at time, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much, everybody.